You might remember that I think of reference entries as being like a map that tells us how to get to the article. Given the way the articles are indexed and stored, that map needs to provide information to answer 4 questions. Who wrote it? When was it written? What was the title of the article? And where was it published? This is an example of how specifically a reference entry answers those questions. As you might have noticed, each of the components answering those questions has unique formatting. That means we not only have to make sure we have all of the correct information, we also have to make sure it's formatted according to APA style. Given that the information we need to find each type of publication, the information included in the reference also varies. For example, we include different information about a book chapter compared to a journal article. We'll focus on journal article entries. Once you master that type, it'll be fairly easy to spot the differences in other types of entries and adapt to use the one that you need. There are 3 important formatting notes for the author section of a reference. First, we do not type out middle or first names. We use the full last name followed by a comma, then the first initial followed by a period, and, if applicable, the middle initial followed by a period. Note, too, that we include a space between the first and middle initials. Secondly, if there is more than 1 and less than 20 authors, we separate each name by a comma and use an ampersand symbol before the last author's last name. We don't write out the word and the names stay in the order they're listed in the publication. Third, if there are more than 20 authors, we list the first 19 using the same punctuation as above, but insert 3 ellipses, otherwise known as ... and add the last author's name. So some authors won't be listed, and there's not an ampersand. Remember that we're focusing on formatting for journal articles. In that case, when we answer the question, when was it written, we just use the year in parentheses, following the author names. The formatting is exactly as modeled in this slide. After the author or author's names, we insert a beginning parentheses, type the year of publication, insert an ending parentheses, and then add a period. When we format the article title, the main detail is capitalization. The majority of the words in a title will be lowercase. The exceptions are the first word, words after a colon, dash, or question mark, and proper nouns, like the name of a test or the name of a disorder. The title is followed by a period. Answering the "where was it published" question requires a little bit more information. It's easier now that things are electronic, but having all the details makes it much more efficient when we want to find an article. We can think about the information we need in 5 parts: the name of the journal, the volume number, the issue number, the page numbers, and the digital object identifier, if it's available. The first part of the reference that explains where the article was published is the name of the journal. Note that the formatting for the name of the journal is a bit different than the formatting for the article title. We capitalize all major words in the name of the journal, which means "of" is not capitalized, nor are other 2-letter words. The journal name is also italicized and followed by an italicized comma. The second component explaining where an article was published is the volume number. It's also italicized. The third component is the issue number. It's in parentheses immediately after the volume number. There's no space before the beginning parentheses. The parentheses and issue number itself are also not italicized. The ending parentheses around the issue number is followed by a comma. The volume and issue numbers provide additional details about when an article was published. The volume number typically refers to the number of years a journal has been published, and issue numbers are used to identify when, during that year, the article was published. These numbers are unique to the journal's publication schedule, rather than being based on the calendar like the year of publication is. The fourth component is the page numbers, which are not italicized and are followed by a period. Note that we just include the number for the first page, a dash, and the number for the last page. We don't include a letter P. The last component of the where is it published information is a relatively new addition in the publication process, and it's called DOI for short. It stands for Digital Object Identifier. The DOI is placed after the period after the page numbers, with the space in between. The DOI can be long, so it sometimes does move to the next line, though. It's formatted like a hyperlink, because it is one. Given that, we don't add a period after the DOI, because that would change the hyperlink. When you're formatting citations and references, it can be helpful to note the differences between the two. Aside from the amount of information that's included, there are a few differences in the author information. References include initials, whereas citations do not, and references list more of the authors than the citations. References also use ellipses points to signal that the author names are omitted, whereas citations use et al. Citations and reference entries do have a couple of things in common, though. They both list the name of the authors in the same order they're listed on the article, and they both only include the year of publication when an article has been published.